Hey, yo. Let me talk to you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. What can we tell you? It's another edition, episode 19 of the Other Alliance Guys podcast. Presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information of the National Wrestling Alliance, United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world that we all love and cherish. My name is Tim, and I am joined, as always, by our in-house fantasy booker, my brother in pod, who's going to Hard Times 3 down in New Orleans this coming weekend. Dave Scooby, you looking forward to the event, Dave?
Yes. I just want to see what the NWA decides to do in light of all that's happened over the last couple of days.
It has been an interesting couple of days. There are people in the watching us online right now, and if you're in the chat, please go ahead and introduce yourself. I'd love to talk to you about what's been going on those couple of days. We are missing our brother Jeremy, and I want to say congratulations to him at this point, although we haven't heard the official news yet, but he is off becoming a grandpa for, I think, the second time. So congratulations to him and his family for that. Certainly understandable that he would miss the show. Willie Bowen is in the house. Hey, Willie, always great to have you here, my friend.
Greetings.
Hope you're ready for Hard Times 3. And we'll get into that a little later in the show. What we're touching on today on this episode is we'll do our usual deep dive on NWA USA, which was a short one this week. Not in terms of length, but in terms of new content. We're going to look at what happened on NWA Power, and including a very interesting main event that we'll touch on. It doesn't look like we'll get to UWN results tonight because Jeremy's not present. That's certainly understandable. We'll also be looking at Dave will be giving us some fantasy booking about what he figures happens now in the wake of Aldis's departure to those who are caught up with him in the storylines. And we will, to finish off the show with you guys, we're going to go through our predictions collectively for Hard Times 3. And I've seen a couple of other people. Rick is here. Rick, I just listened to your podcast throughout the day today, and I finally got through it on the car ride home. I finally found the time. And Rick went through over on Pro Wrestling Zone. What's wrong with the NWA and what he felt the issues were, and more importantly, what he thought could be done to help correct it. So please give Rick's podcast a listen. Congratulations to Pappy, Wrestling with the MMA. That's Jeremy, but we'll wait for his official word. Yeah, are there any good rumors or gossip? Jay says, anything going on in the NWA right now? Dave, have you heard anything?
There may be a new champion. There may not be. Who knows? We'll see Sunday night by midnight, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But of course, we beat around the bush, as discussed last night on the pre-party with Jay Kyle by Jay. Obviously Nick Aldis and the situation there, as he and the National Wrestling Alliance have parted company. He will be a free agent in January. I don't want to spend a great portion of this show going through all of the details about what we've heard and the rumors, because we really don't know. We only know what we've heard on social media from the parties involved. Some comments by Aldis and a suspension by the National Wrestling Alliance that followed, and some talk on Busted Open Radio. But J. Cal gave 23 minutes. Honestly, Jay, the best 23 minutes on your already good show that I've heard. I was riveted talking about the National Wrestling Alliance, what it's been through, the different incarnations it's been through, and how it's going to survive, and how the sky isn't falling. And he gave some good examples. He talked about those incarnations and the troubles they went through, and how the NWA has endured and survived. What do you think, Dave? Do you think Jay's opinion that he gave on the pre-party about how the NWA is going to survive and we'll get through this, and that it's not the end of the world, is accurate? And what's your take on Aldis's departure?
Well, like Jay has said, and it's been documented, about every 4.5 to 5 years, there's a spin. That there's just a change, either due to management, due to wrestlers, due to something. Now, in my opinion, the best thing that they could do, I mean, he has maybe 6 weeks left on his contract. If he doesn't want to be with the NWA and he's currently suspended, see if you can buy your contract out. It was done with AEW when they talked to Thunder Rosa about coming over full time and not just appearing as an NWA talent. If he can buy out his contract, do it. I mean, clean your hands of the situation. It's time to move onward and upward. The good times, the bad times, whatever happened in the past is the past. We need to look forward.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it was me, I would make one statement and then be done with it. That Nick Aldis and the NWA have parted. We wish him good luck in his future endeavors. Thank you and goodbye.
Right.
It's been real. It's been fun. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. That's it.
Well, speaking of good luck in all endeavors, I hope that our friend Jeremy, who's here right now wearing, it looks like he's in a hospital from the drop ceiling and wearing a mask, has some good news for us.
My grandson just got born, 7 pounds, 1.2 ounces.
Hey, congratulations, man. Congratulations to you guys, to Mama and Daddy as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to hop in and share the good news with everybody. I can't hang in here long. It's sad to see Nick Aldis go, but I ain't going to cry about it at all. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I was going to say. I'm kind of jumbled up right now with emotions. I love you guys. I'll see everybody next week.
Awesome. You take care, and all the best to you and your family, my friend. And by the way, before you go, I believe your grandson's name is Dean.
Correct.
I'm just throwing this out there. Dean's a very strong name, but is there any chance at all that they would consider naming him Beef Candy?
I can shoot for it. but I doubt it. I was gonna shoot for Lester the Legend, but
Oh,
that's a good strong name too. But
very good.
I don't know. We'll see.
All
Maybe I
right.
can get Beef Candy as the middle name.
That's good. We'd settle for that here.
Yep, yep. I I'll see you guys
All
next
right.
week.
Congratulations. Take care.
Yep.
Take care. Congrats.
That's amazing. Yeah, congratulations to him and his
That was
family.
nice.
That's the best news of the night. What were we talking about? Well, we're talking about Aldis and that situation there. And I think that there are differing opinions about this, that we all have a collective middle, like things will survive and will carry on. But Jay had a really positive response about surviving, and the NWA going through all of these things before, as you mentioned. And I feel like I would have to say, and now for the Republican response, because if the sky isn't falling right now, I do feel like the clouds are a little bit lower today. The sun's a little bit lower in that sky than it has been in since this happened. If the goal is to survive, I feel like that's not the correct goal. The goal was always supposed to be for the NWA in the Lightning One era to thrive. And where it started 5 years ago and where it is now is, in my mind, not an upward trajectory.
No.
I think that, in our server, I mentioned a kind of a Moneyball reference. If you're going to try to replace a Jason Giambi with a Scott Hatterberg, I mean, as much of a great movie that is, it didn't work in Moneyball either. It didn't work for the Oakland Athletics in the end. And I don't think that you can replace someone like Nick Aldis without someone like Nick Aldis. And those people aren't coming here. This is not the NWA of old. And it frankly never has been, and that's okay. We wanted it to build that way. But this is not even the NWA of 5, 4, 3 years ago. I mentioned Rick Del Santo, who's in the chat right now on his podcast, saying some of the things that bothered him. And we all echo those things here. When you're booking around Gags the Gimp, when you're, and having him, affect matches to a finish with a tongue in the ear, when you're, I know Rick didn't mention this, but when you're using Rolando to destroy some of your top talent, and so many other the booking decisions for me. I understand that this is a divorce and that mommy and daddy don't always stay together. But I don't know that this is entirely recoverable not because Nick Aldis is going, but if that's the catalyst, I don't see how the booking survives without the talent level that he brings. There is some A-class talent in the NWA. Everyone can name on, some of those people. The Pope's one of them. I would argue Tom Latimer is, and different people think different things. The only A-plus athlete on the roster was Nick Aldis. In my mind, I think he had everything that you need to be the continue to be the face of a company, and it's very, very sad that they weren't able, Aldis and Corgan, to get together and work this out. And I think who suffers in the end will be the NWA. And all I want to add to that, if this is a little bit doom and gloomy, is the NWA survived before because there were, I think, and I'm not as well schooled as Jay or Jaden or DK. But it certainly seems from my amateur point of view that it survived because there were different voices. There were different support mechanisms. Now this is owned by one guy. It's booked by one guy and, his, I assume his small circle. If it isn't financially feasible, if the booking doesn't change, if things don't get better and it goes under, how does it survive past that? It's a precarious position. What do you think, Dave?
I think it needs to be more of a business rather than. You have some people that work for the NWA that have great minds, great wrestling minds. They may not have been the biggest stars, but the biggest stars aren't always the one with ideas. While those that aren't the biggest stars, they can step back and see what's been make these people stars to make wrestling fun. It doesn't have to be serious all the time, but you need to cut crap. If you want some jokey joke stuff in there, maybe once every 2 or 3 episodes. But don't just do a storyline to do a storyline. They need to look at shortening up the taping schedules and doing it every 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they can pivot every 2 months if needed. That if the situation with Nick would have happened a couple weeks ago, I mean, now they have 2 or 3 days to get somebody to go against Odinson, but that storyline is being put to the side. Anybody that Nick has had dealings with, those storylines no longer exist.
Right.
I keep thinking to myself, what would have happened if the storyline of the British invasion together would have just stayed the line? If Nick wouldn't, I don't know if it was Nick or if it was upper management that decided that Nick needed to be taken out of the situation of the British invasion coming back together, and that he needed to be pushed back into the main event. But I think if Nick would have been in the tag team situation with the British invasion and they would have won at Crockett Cup, things would have possibly been different. He'd be teaming with an old friend of his. He'd have a belt. He'd be in the spotlight, but he wouldn't be the main person. He'd have to share the spotlight, but he could help build other people rather than one person. He could help build 2 or 3 tag teams along the way.
Mm.
But I mean, I guess we'll never know what could have happened. But I mean, it's just roll with the changes. They need to adapt and then just do what they can.
Yeah, and Jay writes, people hate change. This is the biggest change in personnel in this company. You'll hurt it first, and then it'll get better. Sure. And I think that, again, this is the catalyst. But, Dave just spoke to the foundations, about taping schedules, about kind of doing things right at the base level. And on top of that, what I think that this brings out, Aldis's departure, is exactly this. Is there a good storyline, DKS, in the NWA right now? Is there one that's really good? Who's writing this? Who is, as Jay mentioned a couple of weeks ago, who booked this crap?
Yeah.
Remember the T-shirt. So I'm concerned that with the loss of Aldis, it's a loss of star power. It's a loss of eyes to whatever percentage. And I feel that if that booking isn't going to be there, if it's going to be what it is right now, without those foundations that you mentioned, Dave, and about how to do things kind of correctly, I don't see. I could see surviving, but I don't see growth, and I don't know how it
Yeah.
gets better. And I hope that they figure it out as we all do. So enough doom and gloom. We crapped on Jeremy's wonderful parade about his grandson being born with that. So hey, listen. Well, how good of the timing was this before we get into NWA USA? Because I believe it's 25 years ago today.
Yep.
The Montreal Screwjob. That's Bret
Screwjob.
Hart. This is the hockey puck that's up. We finally got some movement on Twitter as people have started tweeting about it, quoting and retweeting about it, liking the post and following the right people. So in a week's time, next week, we give this away. It is, again, a signed, authenticated Calgary Hitmen Western Hockey League puck signed by the Hitman himself. So get on my Twitter page and take a look while there's still time. But let's get into NWA USA Season 4, Episode 2 from this past Saturday. As soon as I can find here it is. This is Surge. It's always ready Surge if you like. And it begins with a video package. Exceptional, graceful, humble, ready. It's Matt Cardona and the Cardona family with their own Surge episode. They're in the video package. They're described on the graphics as the greatest tag team in history in VSK and Mike Knox. Greatest woman in history as for Chelsea Green, and of course the greatest champion in history. It's a neat song. Not familiar with it, but I think it's Downstate. They do all that. They do a lot of wrestling themes for around the world. I think it's called When the Lights Go Down, if you want to look it up. So Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green are our hosts. They're live from their home in Orlando, Florida. Throughout the course of this, they will be insufferable. They will be loud. And they will be, for my money, the best hosts that we have ever seen on a Surge episode. They're really great in the segments that we see them. I actually noticed that my wife noticed actually that they wear different merch every segment they're in. So way to market. But they bark a bit in the beginning, Dave, about how they'll both have belts soon and send us into non-title action ahead. What did you think of the opening package? Like, did it seemed very well produced, and it's better for them than it has been for any other host?
Yes. I did like it, that it was not it was in their house. I mean, it's outside of the boundaries of the NWA. We're hosting a show. This is us. Now let's go to the NWA, then come back. That it had a different feel and a different energy. That you're not relying on jokes to get you over. You're not relying on a crowd to get you over. They're just doing what they do and then sending it to the ring.
Yeah, they're both they're both so over the top that and they always have been, and it really works well for them in their segments tonight. Homicide versus Chris Sains. It's a non-title match. We've seen Chris Sains before for the around the World Junior Championship. And interestingly, we were told that the reason it's a non-title match is because Sains is 1 pound over the weight limit, and therefore he's not eligible to compete. But I've never heard that before myself as one of the reasons why we might not be having a title match. It's kind of unique.
Yeah.
He's listed on Cage Match at 215, but I mean, he does seem a lot taller than Homicide does. He's apparently not only a tried and true wrestling guy, but he's an ex paratrooper. So
Mm.
he's got that in his background. So Homicide starts this match. He's kind of playing with referee Kevin Keenan. At first, I didn't really get it, what he was trying to accomplish. He makes him hold the belt up like it's a title match. He tries to steal his wallet. I don't know. It just seemed a little clunky to me, and it went on a bit long. But he'll cause him trouble all throughout the match. There's a lot of stiff chops to start this one out as Homicide lays the beating down. He fish hooks him Sains in the mouth. There's one part where Sains doesn't really sell 2 standing short arm clotheslines, and Homicide doesn't look too happy. I don't know if there was anything legit there at all, but he does seem to kind of get in his face and eye gouge him a bit. He tosses him out of the ring, and he kind of kick slides a chair into his leg pretty hard. Sains can't really get much offense going in this match, short of a suplex reversal and a back body drop and a running boot. It's really all Homicide taking cheap shots. Sains does get a power slam and a 2 count at one point, but a moment later he eats the Koji cutter and a Boston Crab, in which they are calling the Brooklyn Bridge, I think, makes him tap out. Dave, your thoughts on this match?
It kept the story going of Homicide, quote unquote, not playing by the rules.
Right.
I don't know if Kerry is going to win come Hard Times 3, but I think they have several people that could carry that belt.
Right.
It just decides on what direction they want to go. Homicide is a very good wrestler, but he's up there in age, and he does work as a producer.
Yep.
I was surprised that they put the belt on him, but I think that they put the belt on him because he was the most well-known of the people that were wrestling in the tournament. He has a name.
Right.
Now, him going in against Kerry, I still have a feeling that Jay Spade is going to play a part in the junior heavyweight match. Whether it's before the match starts, after the match, or in the taping the next day. But Jay Spade won a shot at the title before it was even held. And then he just disappeared. So who knows if I can remember it, and I'm an old 50-plus-year-old guy, hopefully whoever is booking and going forward remembers that Jay Spade has a shot due him.
Right. And that would be an exciting turn at or right after Hard Times 3. Willie's got his Tyrus joke of the day. DK asked, is there a good storyline in the NWA right now? And Willie said that storyline where Tyrus maintains the pie and hot dieting heavyweight championship. James Bell is here. Hello, James. Good to see you. Media's here. Hey, Media. It's always great to have you guys here. We just got through talking about Nick Aldis, and hard times, baby, hard times. So we've moved on into NWA USA, where we go from the homicide over Chris Sane's non-title match to Kyle Davis at the control center. He says Natalia Markova's she has a response to the Sinister Minister's challenge for the Voodoo Queen casket match at Hard Times 3. And she says that voodoo stuff doesn't work on her and that Max is ugly. She says there'll be no Taryn, there'll be no Father James Mitchell. It'll just be her and Max, and she'll see Max in New Orleans. And also, they mentioned that La Rebellion will defend against the hometown boys, Hawks Harry. How do you figure? I know we'll do predictions later, but how do you figure Natalia Markova is gonna do against Max, Dave?
Well, they need to figure out what direction they're going with Max first. That if Max is non-binary, Max needs to take on any and all wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
They had Max in a battle royal a while back, and the guys didn't know what to do.
Yep.
But they need to figure out, storyline wise, is Max going to be competing against females, the males, both, or it really doesn't matter. I mean, that Max is just a wrestler. Not a male wrestler, not a female wrestler. Biologically, yes. But in Max's mind, Max is just there to destroy. So they need to figure out a good storyline, whereas it may be going against anybody and everybody. But I mean, I know they wanted to do a voodoo gimmick casket match, and it's good, but then they're referring to, oh, is this the first time that females have done it? Well, you're incorrect, because Max is not male or female. Max is non-binary. You need to toe the line and keep it straight. It's not just a male or a female thing now. I have a difficult time adjusting to it and not saying her, but it's something that you roll with the changes. It's something that is current. It's something that you deal with every day now. So they just need to figure out what direction that they're going to go with Max. And I mean, Father James Mitchell, I think he and Max just need to break off. That there doesn't need to be Miserably Faithful anymore.
Right, I agree.
That Judas needs to find what he's doing, or maybe form a tag team with someone else. He's done the singles thing by himself and really hasn't gotten anywhere. So they need to sit down and take a look at all the different wrestlers and what direction that they're going to go with these wrestlers.
Sure. Yeah. You know, it's to that end, you've got some people agreeing with you. Let me put here. Media had said you're absolutely right on Max. Got to be done intelligently. Although James Bell would like to see Max versus Homicide. Yeah, that'd be great. And you know what's intelligently, like doing what needs to be done with Max. Many viewers have a hard time. But also Willie had said earlier, you know, for some of the wrestlers with direction, Tom Latimer, Dak Draper, Jordan Clearwater, and Jack Stain have the potential to be the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And down the road, any of those guys do. 100%. Jax has already been there. But we got to figure the NWA, excuse me. I say we because I'm invested, but They got to figure that out. Willie also says that, the comedy skits from the Fixers hurt the credibility of the NWA. They don't deserve to be U.S. Tag Team Champions. It has made, they've worn on me because of this, but we'll see what happens with Max at Hard Times 3 and what comes out of that. We go back to Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. They announced that there's a match between Angelina Love and Ella Envy coming up next, but really their segments all immediately come back, as they should, given their characters too. It's all about them, and this one really is about how Chelsea says, she's going to be a champion soon now. It's finally her time. We go to Angelina Love versus Ella Envy. For my money, Ella's great in this match. She's hilariously vocal all the time. Love is fine. I put in my notes that she's on the downside of her career, but I think we all know that. Love's arm drags and her arm bars are met by claims of hair pulling and a ring bail by Ella. There's sort of a reversal of fortune as Ella snaps her by the hair to the mat and chokes her out on the ropes. They exchange kicks and punches throughout the middle of the match. Ella counters with a nice little Northern Light suplex. There's a sloppy crucifix pin attempt near the end that sets up a slightly sloppy series of something. And it's Angelina Love with the Botox injection to win this match. I didn't love it, Dave. I didn't hate it. It was just there. What did you think?
Yeah, well, like you said, it was just there. I don't understand the reasoning behind it. Unless Angelina Love is going to find a new partner and come after the tag belts, why are you having tag team champions in a singles match?
And why are you beating them right before the pay-per-view?
Yes,
I don't think Love is even on.
I don't know. Is that a possible sign that Pretty Empowered may not hold on to the belts? I mean, if you can have, granted, she has experience on her side, but Angelina Love is all of what, 105 pounds, if that, maybe a little more.
Yep.
I don't understand the philosophy or the reasoning behind highlighting tag team wrestlers in singles matches.
Well, we know they don't have a lot left in the can as they get towards a pay-per-view, but and we learned this because the last 20 minutes of this show will be a replay from NWA 74. But maybe they should have replayed something else rather than beat one of their tag team champions with, as I say, someone who's not on the pay-per-view. So, I mean, again, there you go. We go back to Matt and Chelsea, and as the cameras come up, they're making out. They kind of go, like we're being filmed. And they start announcing Hawks Aerie versus La Rebellion. But that's like, who cares? It's really all about us. And, it's all about me. And I'm finally going to regain the title I never lost. And I got to give, especially in this segment, but I have to give all credit to Chelsea Green. The faces that she makes at her husband she's phenomenal on that stuff. She gives you the impression she can't wait for this to be over. So, she and Matt can go back to doing what they were doing and more. They are so over the top that they work for me. And then we get Hawks Aerie versus La Rebellion for the NWA World Tag Team Championship in a replay from NWA 74 that we have talked about before. Jay says he's a big Ella Envy fan. Me too. I think she's great. That was a pretty good match that back in 74 that ended with Damien 666 hitting Luke Hawks with that red mist and to set up a pinfall, and it really kind of started the whole red mist era, for lack of a term, for La Rebellion. which I am so done with right now. Um, it takes up the rest of the show with something like 18 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and really we go off the air with Matt and Chelsea taking us out, and they're offended that their show has ended. Um, I don't know, 18 minutes, 20 minutes with Matt and Chelsea at the end. Was it the right decision to just fill that with this match, given that the Hawks are your hometown boys for New Orleans?
I think it adds to the story. I'm not really sure where they were going with it. I know they were short on time, but I have noticed in the past that USA started off as a 30-minute show, roughly 25 to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going 40 plus the last couple weeks. Either cut some segments out or cut a wrestling match out that you can use on another program. I don't know how they set up to do everything. I just go to the tapings. But they need to be consistent. It'd be like watching, let's say, The Big Bang Theory. And 1 week it's 15 minutes. The next week it's a 30-minute show. Then
Right.
it's a 30-minute show. Then it's a 45-minute show the next week. You have to have consistency that if it's going to be if every episode is going to be around 30 minutes, make it at least 25, throw in a couple promos, and you're close to 30. But you have to make your promos mean something. I actually liked having the Cardonas do their thing. That they're throwing it to these matches, but they're putting themselves over
Yeah.
the whole show. And that's what needs to be done. I mean, it's okay to have the fixers do it every once in a while, but I think they've lost their shine.
I agree. It was just
too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just they pushed it too much, and it's not special anymore.
Right.
Doing it once or twice is okay, but after the third or fourth time, it's lost its shine. It's not special.
And it was fun with the Cardonas making it all about them. If you guys haven't seen it, so go back and watch just for the segments. Like they have like Matt Cardona, he's got like this list. He's like, all right, we're gonna see Hawksery battling the La Rebellion for the World Tag Champs, but who cares? You know, like it's all about me. I'm finally gonna get my title back. So he tells you what's about to happen, and really oozes his own character. So that was USA, and we'll touch on Power. Really, results only. Willie doesn't like the Cardonas, the coward Cardonas. I love the Cardonas. By that I mean Matt and Chelsea, and I like VSK a lot too. But there you go. We'll touch on Power, some of the Power results from Season 10, Episode 9. The cold open with Kylan King and Camille in a tag team match that was promised last week against the Hex. Kind of a funny bit where Marty Bell tries to do a shoulder block exchange because as the smallest person in the match, he wants in and just kind of, nope, that didn't work, and out she goes. Camille pins Belt with the spear, and there's handshakes all around afterwards. It's actually the first time I've ever seen Marty Bell play a part where she's obviously not seen at quite the same level as the others. That was the impression that I got that she was portraying. Did you get that?
Yeah, that she was there, but it's almost like everybody's on varsity and she was on JV, but it's the end of the season, so let's bump her up to varsity. If she did good down here, let's bump her up. And I mean, all the women are great wrestlers, and I'm not sure where they're going. If they're just like, well, the Hicks are here, let's have another match, and let's build up some friction between Camille and Kylan, but they seem to be more friendly than building up any friction. So I
Yeah.
don't know if they're going, okay, well, Camille keeps the belt. Kylan finally figures out, well, if you can't beat him, join him. Hey, Camille, let's do a tag team and go after the tag belts. That way you can be double champ, and we can run the NWA women's division. Both
Right.
of them.
Yeah, that'd be great. Um, it was just funny to see Marty play it as well. As just we
Yeah.
all looked at that match and immediately thought, well, Marty's going to get pinned. We understand that. It would be different if it was something else. But she seemed worried. She seemed to portray like I'm really in here with the the big hitters, and I've never seen her do that before. So I guess we'll see if that leads us anywhere. May Valentine's with Ricky Morton. Ricky says he wants Kerry to not be Ricky version 2. He wants to be the best Kerry he can be. Homicide can make a mistake. He can be beat for this title at Hard Times 3. Then we get May with Dak Draper. I'm going to spend a second on this and throw this segment to you too, Dave. He talks about his legacy and what it will be, and he has some hilarious examples about, he won't just be the guy 20 years from now who was known for pointing at a bald man and making him grow hair. It starts his legacy at this pay-per-view by beating Scion. And he says he beat all the guys in the TV tournament. They all had something. He has all of that, what they have and more. I really thought this guy could talk, and it's nice to see him in front of with May.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, he's only been wrestling for a while, but I mean, I'm not going to say a 5-tool player, but he has the ability to be one.
Right.
He's good in the ring. He has good size. Um, from what I've seen of him wrestling, both in the NWA and back when ROH was the original ROH.
Right.
I mean, he has so much ahead of him if they use him right.
Is he the one who's married to Quinn McKay?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. I thought so. We get fodder, Psycho Boy fodder versus Odinson. A couple of new moves in the Odinson repertoire this time around. Still needs to calm down a little bit with those uppercuts. He wins with some kind of shoulder block. I didn't get the name for what they're calling it. Most importantly in this match, despite just me noting that Odinson looked better than he had been, in some time, Aldis is never mentioned. So there's been some editing or some reshooting of the commentary, but Aldis is
Mhm.
not mentioned. Your thoughts?
That's what I was actually worried about, that them doing taping so far ahead that if things change, they may not be able to fix it. But I'm glad that if Aldis not being mentioned was taken care of, or they just didn't mention it. But I mean, it seems strange being that the planned pay-per-view match is 5 days away.
Right.
So I mean, whoever did whatever magic that needed to be done, thank you. It just, if they would have had Aldis this and Aldis that being mentioned, it just makes the NWA, I'm not going to say look stupid, but not look smart.
Right.
That it's just, it's not stupid, it's almost idiotic. That if they're wanting people to believe that week after week this is happening, and it's not all taped 6, 8, 10 weeks ago, people know. they choose to live in the moment. But I'm glad that they did some editing. If they didn't make mention of Aldis, it, it would have been bad planning on their part. But with what's happened now, I'm glad they took care of it.
Yeah, me too. I did notice at the end of the credits as well that Aldis is not listed as a producer. So they covered all their bases. Carlton's here. Hey, Carlton, good to see you. I'm going to really skip past this one. May Valentine with Aaron Stevens and the Question Mac. Babe is angry. So, okay. Kratos, he said, wants to wrestle him, but he's retired. And honestly, this is a waste of his talent and Rodney Mack's even touching anything around the storyline. So I'll go straight to Taya Valkyrie versus Maddie. And I thought that Maddie showed some good resilience in this match against La Wera Loca. But it's Taya with the road to Valhalla. Did you like this match, Dave?
I like the match, but it just seems strange the way some of the matches are, being that Taya isn't involved in the pay-per-view at all, and Maddie is. Maddie losing, it doesn't help her, but at least she lost to someone who is experienced and has a name.
Right.
That even her losing, it could be, well, I lost, but I'm a tag team wrestler now, and I wasn't able to tag my partner so we could get the win.
Right.
So, I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but I mean, it just, the logic doesn't make sense.
It's twice this week they've done this now.
Yeah.
They've had the wrong person go over in front of a pay-per-view where the person who's lost is going to be appearing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
One defending a title and the other going against that person. So we then go to May with what the heck? It's Captain Yuma. I have to tell you guys, I popped at Captain Yuma for reasons both old and new. He says he's here not as a captain but a doctor, but he's determined from afar that Scion has a torn meniscus and I think a partially torn ACL. So he'll be at Hard Times 3. And I kind of was just, okay, well, I mean, it's Captain Yuma. He's not in his other persona, and I'm happy about that. So we'll see if he gets to stick around in the new tapings. Then we go to another segment, May, with the Hawks RE. Luke is seriously fired up for Hard Times 3. PJ's confident that they can win. He can win at home. He gets fired up. He speaks Spanish pretty fluently. They're taking the belts. Good energy from the Hawks family. Yeah. But then we go to a main event that I'm going to tell you. I thought, oh, this will be the dumpster fire of the week, which I don't really think there is one this week per se. And it turned out to be, interesting. It is Pope, Doug Williams, and Kratos versus Tyrus, Tom Latimer, and Murdoch. This is a big, beefy match. There is some uneasy stares, with Tyrus and Murdoch on the same team. Sorry, let me just put here. Carlton says he thinks Eli Drake or Ricky Starks are coming back. I hadn't heard that, but you're right. He'd have to pay them much larger than he probably did the first time. But there are some parts in this, Dave, I'll just touch on. I loved the Kratos Murdoch, square off when it happened. They just looked when they went forehead to forehead that they wanted to murder each other. Kratos is better in this match than at any point that I've seen him with his return. Like his energy level was through the roof. Pope is just springing around the apron, dying to get in. Like his energy was so into this as well. But in the end of this match, Stevens pulls out a cover by Kratos over, I think, Latimer, if I remember correctly. He pulls the ref out mid-pin. He drills him. He and his team get chased to the back by Kratos, Williams, and Pope, and the Cardonas emerge, and they attack everyone that's left. So in the end, we get the main eventers left in the ring, which, of course, Tyrus and Murdoch. Matt Cardona's there. He's got a chair. They kind of turn on him together, and he's pulled out or bails out. What did you think of this match?
Oh, it was just it was a free for all. I understand what they're trying to do in showing that, quote unquote, they can work together, but come hard times, it's every man for himself. But I really don't think it helped any of the participants. That it's just a free for all. That more or less they're drawing lines in the sand. Cross this line and see what happens. I'm actually excited to see where things go after this pay-per-view, being that they have to readjust or pivot, that this can either make or break, I think, the NWA.
No.
That they need to think long and hard about what they're planning on doing. As much as I like Trevor, he's great as a champion, but he doesn't need the belt.
Right.
Tyrus really doesn't need the belt. I'd put it back on Cardona. If I
We're
were
gonna get to that. I have a different answer to that one than you do, but we'll talk about that in the predictions that to come up. What I specifically liked about this match is with the energy levels. Like if Pope is going to be like Pope was in this match, even just on the apron, he was nuts. He was energizing to the room, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Kratos and Trevor looked like they were saying, let's throw some bombs and make it look far more legit than we have seen in some time. And they were going with speed, not just a you hit me, I hit you, back and forth. It was that, but it was speed, like you might actually buy some of this stuff. And I look forward to that kind of action. That's what I want to see from the NWA. But I mean, it was a mess. It was a big, giant, beefy boy mess. Don't get me wrong, but it was much better than it could have been. Yeah. You know, Jeremy's not here to do the UWN recap. So, but please, if you're writing down Twitter stuff, follow the UWN at United Wrestling and, you know, Dave Marquez's promotion at CWF Hollywood, and also the Memphis _wrestling address as well. They're really offering some great stuff. We started this show talking about Nick Aldis, and you know, Dave has taken an opportunity to say for the fantasy booker segment, if Nick Aldis is out, then what happens with the talent that the national treasure is leaving behind in his story? Over to you, Dave.
Well, as of now, Odinson is wrestling somebody, but we don't know who. The NWA hasn't announced it, so that match or that storyline has been scrapped. I'm not sure where it was going. Hopefully it can hopefully they can build Odinson back up.
Flip,
Flip Gordon,
yeah, go ahead. I was going to say Flip Gordon's name. He'd be a good
yeah,
person to put right
Flip
back in here.
Gordon, he can step in, but he's a little small size-wise. But his storyline with Nick being quote unquote like an advisor or a coach to him, they fought. He was like, "Yeah, kid, you got something. Let's see where it can go." If Flip Gordon's staying with the NWA, I would have him in the junior heavyweights myself. He can step up if needed, but you need some good wrestlers in the junior heavyweight division, and that belt needs to be flipped around quite a bit.
Right.
If not, have him go after whoever the TV title champion is. I did put push him. He could be Gordon could be a possible opponent for Homicide if he does retain at Hard Times 3. And being that Homicide is on the fence, he's not a face or a heel, but he's acting heelish. Gordon could be the All-American guy going after the belt. I'd put Odinson against Adonis and just turn Chris Adonis face. Adonis has been lost in the shuffle.
He has. We need more Adonis.
He can help out the younger guys, and he doesn't need to win all the time. Give him a win here and there against the younger guys, but have him build up because he's been there. He's had all these matches. He needs to give back now. That there's not a strictly business storyline. There's not him and Tom. They're friends, but there's not strictly business. There's not a storyline that prevents him from going out on his own and doing his own thing. And speaking of Latimer, it's time to push him to the upper level.
Amen.
That I don't know how long EC3 is going to be involved with the NWA, but he's a hell of a talker. I would push Latimer over EC3, but then have the Control Your Narrative minions attack and just have EC3 wrestle when needed, but have him be more or less a spokesperson / manager for his Control Your Narrative group if they're staying within the NWA. I mean, he has what, 3, 4, 5 guys? You could easily have one single guy and 2 tag teams right there. That you can start from the bottom, but if they're going to use the CYN guys, do something good with them. Not just, oh, hey, you're going to wrestle in this match and you're going to lose. Do something with them. Make it a story that if they're losing, then EC3 comes out and confronts them. Why are you losing? You got to stay focused. This and this. Make a storyline out of it. But I mean, there were at least 2 to 3 people involved with Nick. Now, Doug Williams was brought in by Nick, and there was a possible repairing of the British invasion. That's not happening. I don't know if the NWA is willing to, as good as Doug Williams is, bringing him over for a pay-per-view and then maybe a couple days of tapings if they're not all within a week's time, you're doubling up on having to bring him back and forth from the UK. He's a good wrestler, but does the NWA need to bring him in at this time, being that everybody he's been involved with is no longer there?
That's
Davey
right.
Boy's gone. Nick's gone.
That's it.
So he won't. Yeah.
I kind of wonder also what happens in the wake of Aldis's departure with the friends that Aldis has. I mean, I'm not saying people are going to walk out, but you've got to wonder if when their terms are up, are they just going to move on? Like Odinson, I had heard was an Aldis guy. Does he stick? Are there people like Latimer or Camille that he's been associated with, or Doug Williams? Do they stick? I don't know. Great scenarios Carlton's got. He likes your EC3 scenario, and if you're going to push Latimer, he says I would put the belt on EC3 or Chris Adonis because Latimer has a history with both of them.
Yeah.
I think EC3 is too polarizing to ever touch the NWA title. We've had something similar with that with Cardona.
Yeah.
But people really seem to hate CYN, and I don't know. I don't, but there you go. And we talked about this, Carlton, in the beginning at the top of the show, the Aldis situation being really messed up, and not in the NWA not being in a position to lose top talent. And not to rehash that right now, but what I was saying back at the top was I don't think that there's another athlete in the NWA or available to the NWA that can replace Nick Aldis. I think he has all of the skills that you can look for a world champion anywhere in any company. He's done that in Impact. I'm sure that the sky's the limit for him if he doesn't get lost somewhere. But I agree. They are not in a position to, it's very, very unfortunate that this hasn't worked out and they haven't for business come to an understanding together. And I have no opinion on who's right and who's wrong because, I'll listen to the other podcasts and read the dirt sheets, but honest to God, nobody knows. So I agreed that they're not in a position to have this happen, and I'm worried about what this means for the future. And to Dave's point, I think they'd better book a hell of a year ahead. It should be a 2017, 2018, whatever your favorite year is of the NWA so far. For me, I got back into this in the NWA after Billy purchased it when a friend of mine said, the Rock and Roll Express just won the NWA World Tag Team title. I was like, what? And there was the whole Crockett Cup, and I got really interested in the whole idea of Aldis versus Marty Scurll before that ickiness that happened after that, prevented that from really happening and changed the perception. But there were really good times in there that I remember, and I feel like we're in some, in a spot now where they'd better figure it out. But that's great. It's great, Dave, and I think you've got some outs to. Maybe hopefully they're listening because you've got some suggestions that hopefully can work. I want to do and go out tonight with a roundtable that involves you guys in the chat, and what I mean is, oh sorry, Carlton first. I mean, a match between Camille and Mickey would be golden, not to mention Aldis versus EC3 or Cardona. Yeah, 100%. Willie would have liked to have seen Eli Drake versus Aldis. Yeah, I agree, guys. Woulda, shoulda, coulda, can't, won't, right? But but I want to go to do the Hard Times 3 predictions now, and I'm gonna throw up uh, the matches. I believe there's 13 of them for Hard Times 3, and that's including the pre-show. And if you guys are in the chat, just give us your picks as we go, because we're going to move pretty quickly through here, and let's see what the general consensus is. So here we go. In the pre-show for this, can I do it this way? Will it work this way? It will not. Okay. In the pre-show, Wildcat Sports Tag Team Championship, as I'm going to pronounce it, Slime Season, versus the Miserably Faithful for the Wildcat Sports Tag Team Championship match. I think it's actually kind of cool that for a pre-show, the Hawkses get a tag team championship defense right up the top on the pre-show. Dave, what are your thoughts? Media says, well, as the pre-show, we the viewers lose. I don't know. There's at least one good match on here. Slim Season? Is that what it is? It's written Slime Season.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, what do you think, Dave?
I do like that they're able to highlight a team, but weren't Gags and Sal just fighting a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, they were, but hey, it's why it's on the pre-show. Yeah.
It's I mean, continuity. But if you're going to keep a team together, just think about what you're doing when you're making these matches. Right. This was all done 2.5, 3 months ago, all the tapings, but still, you should have a list of who won, who lost, what's happening with these teams. Did they break up? Why are they back together? Make it make sense. I mean, I see it as a chance for the Wildcat Tag Team Champions to get a good win with Miserably Faithful basically turning on each other again.
Yeah, I agree. And although I could see a situation where NWA management might like the idea of another tag team title again in being featured on the NWA, and I don't know anything about Slime Season. I am, like the boys in the chat so far, I believe, are going to pick them to retain as Miserably Faithful fall apart. Hardcore Team War. This looks like a mess. Mercurio, Magic Jake, and Jax Dane with Chris Silvio versus Crimweather, JTG, and the Pope. Lot of talent in this match. Tell me who you got, guys, in the chat. Dave, how about you?
I just wrote down coin flip. I'd like to see the Dane event, his team win, but you have Mercurio, who really hasn't done much, and Magic Jake, who is just coming off of the surgery. So I don't know if it's going to be a quick match, if Dane and Mayweather are going to battle outside of the ring and they go off and do their own thing, where JTG and the Pope, that if Fandango isn't there, Dango, I don't know if he's coming back to the NWA. If he is, cool, JTG has his tag team partner back, but either give JTG a singles run or put him and Pope together as a serious tag team. Right now, there's 1 or 2 tag teams that can go after the world tag belts. There's about 3 or 4 that can go after the US, but they're all lower. you need to have some guys that are experienced, and both of them have tag team in their blood. So I'd put JTG and Pope together, whether they win or lose in this match, put them together as a tag team.
Right.
But it's a coin flip for me. I'm not sure who really wins.
I'm going to take Crimweather, Pope, and JTG in this one because I think it ends with Anthony Mayweather at least tossing Jack Stain over the top rope for some form of victory to kind of get rid of this feud under the Team War rules. Carlton says, like JTG and Pope would be fire if they put them together. I agree. That's an amazing team. Willie likes Pope's team as well. James likes Stain's team. I think Dave's probably bang on with this is a coin flip. What's the next one we got up here? Let's see. Also on the pre-show, and I was annoyed in the first 10 seconds or so before I thought about it that this was on the pre-show. It's the NWA World Television title match of AJ Kazana with Anthony Andrews versus Jordan Clearwater with Black Cheese. And I was annoyed because why is this on the pre-show? This is the World TV title. It should be on the pay-per-view. But honestly, YouTube is the closest that, Fight, I guess, too, but is the closest that they get to television, per se. So I'm okay with it. And given where I think the TV title should be on the card, I think that's okay. Who do you like for this one, Dave and guys in the chat?
I do like AJ, the wrestler. He's grown on me, but I think they need to give Clearwater the belt to keep him in a storyline. That the belt stays in, quote unquote, the family. They just need to do something with Clearwater. I mean, there's more of a chance of having faces go after the belt than having a face champion and have a bunch of heels go after the belt.
Right.
That it's more of a good a feel good moment when the face wins rather than the heel. So they need to keep it in the family. And if Tyrus ends up not winning the title in the main event, he more or less can take over for the role of Idol in Idol Sports Management. That it can become Tyrus Incorporated or Tyrus and the Church's Money Incorporated, whatever.
Right.
But I've been really impressed with Tyrus talking. I mean, he gets paid for it on TV to talk. The man can talk. He can tell a story and make you believe it.
Yep.
So depending on where all these people end up going storyline-wise, I'd say put it on Clearwater to keep him happy and keep him in the NWA. We don't need to lose any more people.
I agree. James agrees. Willie agrees. Carlton agrees. And Carlton says, the TV title on this occasion should be on a pay-per-view. I agree. But if you're going to put one title, out there for the non-pay-per-view buying fans, it's probably the one. I think Jordan Clearwater should take this and be rewarded with it for the time that he's put in.
Yeah.
Also, and I was really not aware that AJ Kazana was as popular as he appears to be in the last couple of weeks that I've been seeing online. He's not the guy for me. So I think Clearwater takes it for his time in and the reasons that really you just mentioned. Let's go back to the next one. So we go into the pay-per-view. in no particular order, just the way they were listed on the NWA webpage. A national MLW National Openweight Championship match: Davey Richards versus Colby Carino. Because he is the one that Colby wants to face. Dave, what do you think?
I don't see MLW really. They allow their talent to work outside of their tapings and all, but I don't see them partnering up with the NWA and allowing one of their belts to be held by someone outside. Davey Richards, if you don't know, Davey Richards and Angelina Love are exes. They share a child.
Oh,
So I believe that may be one of the reasons that Davey Richards got involved with the NWA. Plus, when they were in St. Louis, he is in the St. Louis area. He has wrestlers that do his dojo there. So it's a win-win situation. You get a better known wrestler than most of the wrestlers in the NWA. That if you've ever watched the American Wolves from back in the Impact TNA days, you know who Davey Richards is.
for sure.
I don't see a title change, but it builds Colby up in that storyline to either go for the national championship or go back down for the junior heavyweight. But I don't see Davey losing the belt.
Everybody agrees with you. Willie, James, Media, Carlton, anyone I might have missed agrees with you that Richards retains. My brain says you guys are right. My heart goes, fuck off, brain. This is going to be one where you don't see it coming. And I'm going to call on the short end of this bet. I'm going to call Colby Carino taking the MLW Open Weight Championship. Maybe there's some reversal of fortune, but I'm going to call him winner on this one to start. I'm going to be that crazy guy who's, by the way, I am always wrong.
Well, Carino, Steve, his dad, was a former MLW champion.
Yep.
So, who knows?
Yep. There is a connection there. Let's go to the next one. EC3 in a singles match against Tom Latimer. These are two pretty good athletes. What do you guys think? What do you think, Dave?
I think this is the start of the Latimer push. That EC3 is in the NWA, but isn't the NWA. He's Control Your Narrative. He's a visitor. He's on the outside. I could see Tom winning, and then CYN, all the guys coming into the ring and attacking him. I'm not sure who would come out and help Latimer, with the exception of I really don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Well,
but I'm calling Tom.
On that one now.
Tom for the win.
Tom for the win. Willie says Tom. Media says EC3. Latimer gets turned by EC3, and that's my pick too. If it's not a double, we're throwing it out. EC3 over Latimer. Latimer gets turned and joins forces with CYN. James wants EC3 but picks Latimer. Carlton says EC3. I think someone's going to interfere to help EC3. Yeah, anything's possible. Bully Ray, James says, comes out and helps Tom. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Oh, well, I've made my pick, and that's the way it's going to be. But there was that moment not too long ago
Yep.
where Tom came out. So good call. Um, so that's awesome. What is next on this event? Go back to this thing here. The United States Tag Team Championship, where the Fixers face the Spectaculars with Rolando Freeman, guys. U.S. Tag Team titles, of course, right now it looks like Billy Corgan's in sort of a verbal jousting. I hesitate to say feud with Wrecking Ball Legursky over the actual titles themselves. Dave, what do you think?
I think the Fixers retain, but there's some, I'm not going to say hocus pocus, but something funny happens, being that they wouldn't give up the old belts, that they win, but that the Spectaculars win. The Spectaculars win by disqualification, and there's no belt change. But they have to get the new set of belts for the old set of belts. That it gives the Spectaculars a win over the champions, but it's almost a story of like back in the WWF days when, oh, I held the Intercontinental belt, then got injured. You got the new one. Oh no, the old champion came back. And then they have
Right.
to have a battle of the belts, and they combine the belts. Basically, that's the only way to really get rid of the old belts from the Fixers, is to combine the belts, and then the Fixers win from whoever wins those belts. Because to me, the Fixers are already over. They just need to quit all the stupid crap.
Yep.
They can be funny outside the ring, but they need to be more serious inside the ring and quit the ha-ha funny stuff.
Yeah, I was listening to Rick Del Santo, I mentioned earlier on Pro Wrestling Zone podcast. And he mentioned that up in his area, which is the Northeast, and is in the New England area, I believe. Wrecking Ball is a very serious wrestler up there on the Indies. Not much of a comedy guy, but it's nice to see him explore this. I guess is how he put it. The chat says, Willie says, the Spectaculars to win. Carlton says the Spectaculars win with a low blow on one of the Fixers by Rolando. I could see that happening. Lou's here. Hey, Lou, now that the elections are over, it's time to discuss the real ugly politics. You got to get on here earlier, man. We gloomed and doomed this place up pretty good. James says, sadly, the Fixers will retain the titles. I tend to agree. I think the Fixers will retain, and I think as something along Dave's, suggestion on what might happen around the belts is certainly possible. I kind of pitched an idea where, there's two sets of U.S. Tag Team Champions, and they go for a third belt down the road that, and to combine them, as Dave mentions, and maybe that belt is the JCP belt that everyone seems to love so much. I'm not a fan of either style, to be honest. But if I were picking between a real George Levy version of the Fixer's belt or this chic version that has been put out, I mean, I don't know. That's a toss-up for me, but probably the Levy version. I'm not a fan of either. Let us go to the next one, which is the Voodoo Queen casket match. Natalia Markova versus Max the Impaler. Let us know in the chat what you think about that one. What do you think, Dave?
I'm saying push Max, but the only reason that Markova loses is that there's interference. I've heard through the grapevine that Taryn Terrell is no longer with the NWA.
I need a moment. Just
So,
give me a moment.
well,
Oh,
I'm not sure what they're planning on doing, but Markova can be kept somewhat strong because she is a hell of a wrestler. But looking at the size differential between Markova and Max, and then if Father James Mitchell is there, it's just she's outnumbered.
right. Right.
That Max needs this win to keep a storyline going.
I agree. And to get back up into the title scene, whatever title that might be, everyone agrees. Willie, James, Carlton. Is it because of the tag match with Max? I'm not sure what you mean, but if you want to expand, we can go and talk about that. Hey, do not cast a dark eye upon Remco. I've got some Remco stuff. You guys wouldn't believe the stuff that I have from AWA and beyond, even the NWA. Just a stupid amount of it. Lou says Max really impressed me at 74 versus Camille, and Markova is just plain out hot. Media is like, no, I love Remco. Remco Toy AWA was better. I'm sorry, I misread it. Yeah, man. Yeah, Lou. Max is. I was super over by like match 2 with Max. Like you can tell that they are over with the crowd there too. So it's. I hope that there is a great future for them in the NWA. I'll go on to the next one. Dave's taking care of the dogs there. We're going to go to the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship match as Homicide defends against Kerry Morton with Ricky Morton. There it is. What do you think, Dave? Does Kerry take the World Junior, or is it still not his time?
Oh, let's see, what do I have here? I'm not sure if they allow Ricky to second Kerry, there may be, I mean, I don't know. Ricky seems to have been not playing by the rules so much the last couple of times he's wrestled, that he's not the good old boy, the squeaky clean face. He may run interference and get caught.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know, but I mean, just in the back of my head, the Jay Spade storyline.
Yep.
Something has to be done to wrap that up. I mean, you're in his hometown.
That's right. That's why it matters extra special.
I mean, he won a chance to go after a belt that didn't even have a champion. So either a face turn or before the actual match, I'd hate to make it a 3-way, but have him come out and be like, hey, I won a chance to go after this belt before you did. We need to fight to see who goes after the belt. Have Homicide step away and have Spade and Kerry Morton fight to see who actually goes after the junior heavyweight.
I think that's a great idea.
I mean, unless they're going to do a switch, and then the next night at the tapings switch the belt again. I'm saying I'd have the Jay Spade storyline continue, but Homicide's doing a hell of a job, and whoever beats him is going to be a made person.
Right. 100%. Willie says Homicide retains. Carlton says Kerry's going to win with Ricky helping him, and he's going to say he did it for his boy. I could see that happening. I'm going to Homicide. I refuse to accept any other results, says James Bell. Well, how about this one? Lou says the Mortons go heel and take the title. That's my pick too. Say that Ricky interferes, Kerry's all about it, and there's what I'd like to call the fortunate son storyline with Carino and Kerry Morton together. I'm not just randomly putting it together. Recently, with May Valentine, one of those segments, Kerry was like, pound for pound, Steve Carino, Colby Carino is one of the best wrestlers in the world, and all the respect that I have for that guy. So we'll see what happens, but I agree with Lou. That's my prediction anyway for what might happen there. We're almost to the end. We have Pretty Empowered defending the World Women's Tag Team Championship against Maddie and Missa Kate. What do you think, Dave? What do you think in the chat, guys?
I'm not sure. I mean, they've had so many wonky finishes with wrestlers that will be featured in this match over the last couple of weeks. I'd like to see Pretty Empowered keep the belts. While you also build up a few other teams that I think Missa and Maddie work well together. They just haven't been together long enough to warrant a win.
Right.
In my eyes, who knows what the NWA is going to do. I mean, they have the speaking pretty thing that Pretty Empowered does on YouTube. So who knows? All I'd like to see is have the belts defended more, whether it's in the NWA or outside the NWA. If they can defend it once a month and just have highlights shown on Power or USA, do it.
Right.
All you're doing is pushing your brand and expanding the brand. So why not? I mean, unless they lose the belts, which that would be something special. But I mean, right now, the NWA doesn't have a lot of female tag talent.
That's true.
I mean, you could put Camille and Kylan together if they want to go after the tag belts. That'd be one team. You have the Hex, but they've already battled for their old tag belts. You have Maddie and Missa. So, I mean, you roughly have 2, maybe 3 tag teams total. That's why you need to go outside of the NWA and defend them. Then have those teams come in to a taping so they can run a storyline of 3 to 6 weeks, and they're their next challengers. If you don't have the talent in-house, you have to go out. If not, there's really no need for a women's tag belt.
I 100% agree. That's kind of where it is right now. James says, Pretty Empowered break up, lose the title. Carlton says, Pretty Empowered for the win. I'm with Carlton. I'm going to say they retain. I know it's probably looking unlikely, but I would agree. But Blue says James called it with Pretty Empowered breaking up, losing the title, because Billy's all about the teams breaking up. That is true. So we'll see what happens on this one. I did forget, and I just was doing it in the background when the cat tried to kill the podcast there for a moment. The NWA National Heavyweight Championship match. I'm looking forward to this one. And, as Dak Draper, who is the only guy I've seen in the Lightning One era who comes in out of nowhere and wins his matches all the way through the tournament without losing his first match to anyone. And here he is facing Causin for the national championship. They gave him some airtime this week. He sounded good. He looks great. What do you think? What do you guys think in the chat? What do you think, Dave?
Depending on if they keep the Causin idol storyline going, I have Causin retaining barely, but it elevates Draper in a loss, and I'm not sure if they use the Causin's quote-unquote injury as an excuse to either he wins by disqualification, that Dak wins but doesn't pin him.
Right.
That it does both of them good. He keeps the belt. I'm not sure. I mean, if Causin has wrestled outside of the NWA a couple weeks ago and wasn't injured, but seeing that they brought back Captain Yuma for the medical explanation of what happened, I see a win, but it's a disqualification win where he retains the belt but loses the match.
Sorry, there's just an Amber Alert in my area. Just making sure that I read that one. Okay. Yeah, I think largely you got media saying Causin. Also, Barry Horowitz comes back to the NWA, has a Rick and Morty moment. Give yourself a pat on the back for that one. Future NWA World Heavyweight Champion Dak Draper wins, says Willie. He's a great showing, Lou says, but Causin retains. And James says Causin in a great match. I got Causin to retain too. He's on a tear in the independents. He's all over social media with his belt. He's been in Milwaukee and Illinois recently. You know, the whole injury angle. I love the Austin Idol and champions just play hurt, right? That's how it goes. So, the Horowitz thing, he says, is because Draper resembles Barry Horowitz. I guess he does. Yeah, I would agree. Causin retains. 3 more matches left. As we have, where is it on here? I'm a professional, can't you tell? Well, I'll find it. I'll go to the next one. Let's go here. The NWA World Tag Team Championship as La Rebellion with Damien. Seis versus the hometown father and son team of Hawks Aerie, the very team they beat to fill the vacant titles several months ago. It's the hometown of the Hawks. Mm-hmm. It's Wildcat Sports. It feels too good to not do it, and I would pick them to win the World Tag Team Championship. What do you think, Dave, and what do you guys in the chat think?
I same thing. Hometown win for the Hawks, but I'm calling that Damien either does the mist and hits one of his own,
yeah.
or Damien comes out and they pull the card of, oh, we're in Louisiana. Do you have your Louisiana manager's license?
Oh, yeah?
Because in some states, and I mean, when the NWA does their tapings, they say unless you're a licensed manager.
Right.
Well, he's come out with them for every match, and 75% of the time, missed is spit, and that's how they win.
Right.
If he doesn't have his quote unquote manager's card, or he misdirects who he goes to spit the mist in the face of, I could see them winning that way.
I could certainly see that. It's got to be the mist that causes them to lose the titles, right?
And if you've followed any of La Rebellion, when they wrestle or when they wrestled in Crash, La Rebellion isn't just a tag team, they're a faction. And Luke Hawx, when he wrestles in Mexico, wrestled for Crash and was part of La Rebellion Yellow, or whatever their name was, that they were a specific group or an offshoot of the La Rebellion group. And they've had several different members. So, I mean, he's comfortable wrestling with them. He knows their style. And I think this would give them the push they need. Plus, it's a hometown win.
Yeah, it just feels too good to be true, and not too good to be true, too good to pass up, and to send the hometown fans, happy, send them home happy. I was trying to, again, I found another graphic that I realized I don't have everything I need, and I just figured out why. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Where is it now? Here we go. Just opening this one for the next match. Because, oh, I'm sorry. I should get to the chat comments here. Let's take the picks. The Hawks. James Bell says Hawks. Willie says La Rebellion retains. Yeah, that would drive me crazy, but that's what wrestling is sometimes. Good for you going the other way. Depends on Papa Hawk's Hollywood schedule, says Lou. Yeah, well, good point. That is a good point. So I guess we'll see what happens there. I got the Hawks to win that one, which inevitably means they won't because I'm never right. I will go to the next one, however, because I did get it uploaded while Dave was talking. The NWA World Women's Championship triple threat match: Kylan King versus your champion Camille versus Chelsea Green. Excuse me. Just for the last match, media says, as much as I don't care for La Rebellion, I want them to retain over the Hawks, which I care less for. Don't care for them both as a deal. Oh, do okay. Well, let's talk about this one here now for Hard Times 3. Who do you got in the chat for the triple threat match between Green, King, and Camille? Dave, what do you think on this one?
I believe Camille retains. There's, I don't know if it's rumors or innuendo, but there is talk of Chelsea Green possibly returning to the WWE. That I believe, I mean, they're bringing up people from NXT and they're not getting over. So they're bringing back people that have had runs. And, I mean, who knows if Chelsea is or isn't. I know she has bookings through, I think, February of 2023. So unless she finds a replacement, there's a chance that she doesn't win because she is going back to the WWE. Because as much as she's saying she's getting the belt and Matt's getting the belt, yeah, it'd be a great play to do the power couple thing, but I don't see Camille losing the belt.
I don't see either one of them getting belts at this pay-per-view myself. The chat, sorry, James says it's Camille, your one-time champion, to retains. Willie says the same thing, the Brick House to retain. And Lou says Kylan King pins Chelsea Green, new champion. And once again, Lou, you and I are on the same wavelength, my friend. I believe, I'm not saying it's time because I'm all about Camille, but I think that this is what is going to happen. I think Kylan King is going to pin Chelsea Green to win the championship. Blue says Camille picks it back up at TV, so she would become a two-time. I think that'll be the shocker of the night. Okay, what can I help you with, buddy? There you go. Go up there. And yeah, that'll be an interesting one to say the least. And your co-main event, because I think that's certainly worth, especially after the last pay-per-view, by the way, where that two-nighter where the women, both of the women's matches, Camille's matches specifically, were masterpieces. But your co-main event, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship triple threat match as Tyrus Smash, the Manster, versus Trevor Murdoch, your champion, versus Matt Cardona for the 10 pounds of gold. Dave, what do you think?
I just have a question mark, and not the least.
Not the question mark.
No, I just have a question mark. Each of the guys involved could make a good champion. It depends on what direction they decide to go. That if Trevor keeps the belt, that's cool. But Trevor really doesn't need the belt. He just needs to keep being the Trevor he is now. Trevor is a part-time wrestler. I hate to say it, but he is. He doesn't make a living strictly wrestling. Neither does Tyrus. Matt Cardona does. Cardona never lost the championship. He surrendered it. So if Chelsea is going back to the WWE, make one of the two predictions true. Give Cardona another run. That way he can say, oh, I won the belt and I got rid of Nick Aldis. Blah, blah, blah. Then you have a whole lineup of people to go against Matt.
Right.
Well, to get to Matt, they have to go through Knox. Then he uses the same thing. It'd be the perfect way to build up Tom, build up EC3, you build up several people to go after the belt, and depending on how long Cardona would be willing to stick with the NWA, give him another run. He never lost. He gave it up due to injury. A lot of the people that are saying, oh, well, Cardona doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he doesn't push the NWA like all these others. Well, all these others, when he goes and wrestles, it's one wrestling event. It's not a TV taping. It's not a pay-per-view. He shows up, does the match, and then moves on. If they want to do business with him again at their next show, they book him again. But it's not a continuous, it's not a TV style wrestling show. 9 out of 10 times he's wrestling either just strictly a wrestling event or pay-per-view.
Right. It's
not a storyline driven thing. It's just him coming in, wrestling the challenger, wrestling a champion, whatever. What happens. And if they do good money, let's book him for the next show. Give him the belt back and see what he can do, seeing now that Aldis is out of the picture.
I think your logic, as always, is incredibly sound, and you make me second guess my choice, which I'll give you in a second. But James says Tyrus wins, and in a post-match interview, dedicates the win to Willie. Willie says, "Shocker of the night, Tyrus is bringing his dinner buffet to ringside," but he also says Trevor Murdoch retains. And Lou says Cardona eats a bulldog from a beat up Murdoch. Tyrus steals the pin. New champion. I think this is the third, maybe the fourth time that I agree with you, Lou, in how the ending plays out. And the reason I think Tyrus is your new NWA World's Heavyweight Champion is where Dave points out situations, right, where Cardona, and it could easily go this way, is your NWA World Champion and can do dates all over the place. Like that's what Cardona does. And, he can take his, I don't know how many millions of followers and, let them know that the NWA is here and there. Tyrus is the television champion and on Gutfeld, I think it's called, on Fox. I feel right now with Nick Aldis no longer in the picture, behind the scene in any kind of production or management or no voice there, especially that Billy looks at the loss of that talent with the gain of this audience. And wouldn't it just be grand if Tyrus, I'm speaking as if I was Billy's brain right now, could be the world's heavyweight champion on Gutfeld. It's a bit scary because of the reverence that we hold that title with and the ability that Tyrus has. But I mean, there have been champions who have held that title with similar ability levels, arguably similar physiques, and let's not forget his upside past his exposure to an audience that exists outside the National Wrestling Alliance right now. But his natural charisma as champion comes across. You get the sense when you watch him that he wants this. I don't think the exposure for Murdoch gives me the sense that he's retaining, and Cardona certainly is. There's an upside to that. I feel like it's Tyrus. So Lou agrees with me. We're on the same wavelength tonight. That'll be the card. That'll be Hard Times 3 this weekend. Dave is there. Honestly, the most exciting thing for me about this card, and I was amped. I was like, I loved the card the last time around. This time around, I'm not. This isn't my favorite NWA card to see, but the most exciting thing for me is the fact that Dave's going and he gets to meet J. Cal and DK and whoever else from the NWA fam that's going to be there. And that's amazing. I look forward to those pictures. You guys got to try to live broadcast from there, Dave. Give us something as it. I'm sure there's rules and all that, but if you get out in the lobby after, maybe try to do some kind of broadcast together on a phone or something, because we'd love to see you guys together.
Definitely.
Have an amazing time, my friend, and really enjoy. If any of you guys are going in the chat, hey, those three guys are there. DK and Jay have never met each other, and they've been doing their podcast, I believe, for 15 years. So it's amazing, and I think that's what the NWA fam is all about. And if that's the best thing that comes out of this is that everybody gets together, I think that's wonderful. Dave, you're on Twitter. Where else are you?
Instagram, and who knows? I may give that TikTok clock thing a whirl. Who knows? I'll have to see what actually is involved and if I do TikTok, it'll probably just be wrestling related and push stuff for Alliance Wrestling.
Right. I might give it another whirl. I loved it so much I had to get rid of it. But I am contemplating a name change for NWA Gold right now. So I'm sticking where I am. I'm on Twitter at NWA Gold _. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at NWA Championships. Grandpa Jeremy, once again, congratulations to him and his family for the birth of his first male grandson, I believe, Dean, 7 pounds 1 ounces tonight. Amazing for him. He's at HJWOTS on Twitter. If you want to lend your congratulations to him and his there. Tomorrow night, the final go home show for the Alliance, I guess, before Hard Times 3. You get those guys, DK and Jaden, with the boss himself, J Cal, on the original Alliance Guys podcast. They'll be looking forward to Hard Times 3 and going into it, I'm sure, with great detail. And this coming Tuesday, Jay will not be back in time for Power. The hour before Power, the pre-party, this coming Tuesday, you get me. So I apologize up front. But I'm doing the pre-party, and I will run through that hour before Power with you guys. It'll be nice that we said to each other, the three of us on this show, we'd keep this show to an hour, and I don't think it's ever gone less than about 90 minutes. So I have to keep it to an hour then, and I'll see you guys next week for that. Enjoy the pay-per-view, Dave.
Definitely.
And, travel safely. Have a great time, and for the rest of you as well, enjoy the pay-per-view, and hopefully somewhere down the road we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.